And welcome to lecture number 17, where we're going to talk about Turkey and Cyprus. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at the map, make sure we remember what we've already gone over. Okay, we talked about two themes when we looked at the Middle East, talked about the Iranian-Saudi Arabian conflict, the Cold War they have going on. So we have Iran right up here. We have Iran and we have Saudi Arabia. Their little Cold War is affecting lots of other countries around them, including Iraq, which is right over here. This has been a big battleground for them, IRAQ. Playing into some of that was the little country of Kuwait. At one point, Iraq invaded Kuwait, and this is where the United States got involved. We went in and liberated little Kuwait right down here. Okay. The other theme we looked at was the difficulties between most of the Arab world and Israel. Let's see if we can zoom in just a little bit. And it doesn't look like it's going to let me. Let's try this. And it's not going to let me do that either. That's okay. We can take a look at it here. All right, we have Israel right here, little tiny country, and it has been in conflict with its neighbors. We talked about Jordan right here. Jordan, a country that's doing very well for itself. We talked about medical tourism. Syria has been involved in a big civil war ever since the Arab Spring, which of course started over in Tunisia. So Syria is pretty messed up. And we talked about Lebanon, little tiny Lebanon right here, number 12. We talked about all of their problems. A country that has really got difficulty going on. Then we talked about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So we have Israel here, we have the West Bank. The West Bank is the West Bank of the Jordan River and the Gaza Strip, which is right here. Let me talk a little bit about that. Okay. So remember those countries, be studying those for the final. Today we're going to take a look at Turkey. Right up here, Turkey, a big country, fairly powerful country, something of a regional player. It's tough to write with a mouse. And we're going to look at the island of Cyprus right down here. Remember that this is Greece right over here. Turkey and Greece have been rivals for a long time. Greece falls into Europe, and we'll talk about it more then, but just be aware that we have Greece over here, Turkey over here, and of course you will remember between them we have the Aegean Sea. Okay. All right, let me pull up some notes for you on Turkey and Cyprus, and then we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, Turkey is, as I mentioned, a fairly powerful country. It's a fairly well-off country. 83 million people, has a very large economy, lots of heavy industry. They do have iron ore there, a lot of steel production, make a lot of cars, a lot of ships. It is economically a powerful country. Big military, 500,000 people in their military, including 36,000 troops stationed in Cyprus, which I will talk about that in just a little while. They have been a member of NATO for a long time. Now, what's NATO? NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO was formed way back in the 50s. This was when all the Western powers made a military alliance against what was then the Soviet Union. This is back in the Cold War days between the communists and the West. Of course, the Soviet Union fell apart. Communism is pretty well discredited. Russia is basically what's left of the Soviet Union, still is a threat, but nothing like the tensions that used to exist in the old days. However, NATO still exists, and Turkey has been a big member of that. Okay. However, Turkey does have a lot of problems. 10% of its population is Kurdish. Okay, so who are the Kurds? Oh, that's not what we want. Let's get back to where we're supposed to be. Okay, so who are the Kurds? The Kurds are a ethnic group that is quite large in Turkey and in the northern part of Iraq. They do not have their own country, and for decades have wanted their own country. They have come close to having their own country in Iraq. They are, like I say, in the northern part, and they are the majority there, and they are officially a state within Iraq, but they have their own flag, their own government, their own army. They're about as close to being their own country as they have ever been. However, in Turkey, they are looked at as a threat. Has been some terrorism from the Kurds, but it's a population that has been persecuted by Turkey for a long time. They don't allow the Kurdish language to be spoken in the schools. They are simply discriminated against. So this has been a problem going on in Turkey for a long time. Turkey is 82% Muslim, but ever since 1920s, it has been what is called a secular state. That is, they're a lot like the United States, where religion and government politics has been separated. Their George Washington of their country, a guy named Ataturk, set this up on purpose. He saw the Muslim religion as holding, in many ways, the development of Turkey as a great power, as holding it back from that. And so he was very, very blunt in saying, yeah, the government is going to be the government, religion is going to be religion, and the two shall not intermingle. He did all kinds of things. He brought in Western experts to help rebuild the country. He pushed for foreign languages to be studied in Turkey. He forced all the governmental people to dress in Western fashions. He really tried to move Turkey into more of a Western configuration, and had a lot of success. The division between the political world and the religious world seemed to work for a long time. However, recently there have been some leaders in Turkey, in order to garner more support, have been playing up to religious leaders, have been trying to bring religion more into the political realm, and it has led to a certain amount of problems. What other problems they got going on? Well, they're neighbors. To the south, you have Syria, and Syrian conflict has spilled over into, has certainly affected Turkey. Lots of refugee problems. Kurdish fighters fighting against the Syrian government have been active on the borders of Turkey, and this has made Turkey very nervous. The Syrian conflict has definitely affected Turkey. And there are potential problems, again, with Greece. I want to show you just a short little clip from an Al Jazeera newscast. Now, remember, we mentioned Al Jazeera before. Al Jazeera is that media outlet that comes from out of a little country called Qatar, or Qatar, which we'll talk about later. These are the Al Jazeera's the group that first picked up the tension in Tunisia and helped spread that worldwide, which helped lead to the Arab Spring. But let's take a look at this news report from Al Jazeera entitled Greece-Turkey Tension.
Beneath these waters in the eastern Mediterranean lies a growing source of conflict. On Monday, Turkish warships entered territory that both Greece and Turkey claim as their own, escorting a ship carrying out seismic surveys on the seabed, searching for oil and gas. On Wednesday, Greece's Prime Minister issued a stark warning.
In response to Turkey's deployment of its fleet, we have also put our armed forces on alert. I'm confident that all Greeks have the same absolute trust in the capabilities of our armed forces as I do. At the same time, though, we remain in absolute political and operational readiness. We are also mobilizing our diplomacy, notifying our friendly nations, and alerting our allies and partners. We are not alone in this effort.
One of those allies is France, who sent in 2 fighter jets and this naval warship to sail alongside Greek forces. But Turkey is ploughing ahead with plans to issue gas exploration and drilling licenses in the disputed region within weeks. This shows the exclusive economic zones of Greece, Turkey and Cyprus as defined by the United Nations. It accords Greece 71% of the Aegean Sea and Turkey 8.8%. But this is how Turkey redraws the same map, claiming much of Greece's waters as its own. And this is the area where Turkey has started looking for oil, within its self-defined waters. But that infringes on Greece's maritime territory, according to the EU and the UN. Turkey did postpone exploration last month, following a truce brokered by Germany. But when Athens signed a new maritime deal with Egypt last week, Ankara vowed to defend its interests in the region.
Greece's attitude in the Aegean and the Mediterranean is malicious. We don't have designs on anyone's rights, but we won't let any country take away our rights.
EU foreign ministers are hoping to resolve the standoff through dialogue at the emergency summit.
Greece stated that it is ready to sit on the table and discuss with Turkey and all relevant parties in the region, as long as all the military presence in the region is withdrawn. You cannot have diplomatic discussions while you have naval vessels confronting each other into a very small geographic area.
Although the two sides seem on a collision course, both say they share a desire for dialogue and diplomacy.
Well, we certainly hope that there will be dialogue and diplomacy. That's usually the better way to go. Okay, let's take a quick look at Cyprus, who also plays into this. All right, here's some notes on Cyprus. Now, Cyprus, of course, has been in our history for ages, going back thousands of years, hundreds anyway. It is divided between Turkey and Greece. You have 18% that lean towards Turkey. They are Muslim. 82% is Greek, and they are Christian. And for years they got along, but they did begin to have their problems with each other. The United Kingdom, or Britain, England, ran the island till 1960, when they pulled back. This was part of the era of decolonization, a late part, but they needed a naval base in the Eastern Mediterranean, and they realized we don't have to control the entire island in order to have a naval base. They still have a big naval presence there. About 1% of the island is their naval base, but they said we don't have to run this whole thing. So they set up kind of a little power sharing government between the Turkish side and the Greek side. Well, the Greek Cypriots, Cypriots are the people of Cyprus. The Greek Cypriots wanted to join Greece. Turkey wanted to annex the entire island. So you started having all kinds of conflict between the Turks and the Greeks in Cyprus. And finally, the Turks, who of course were in a minority and could not really run the government and felt like they were being abused, they simply stopped participating in the government. Had no elections, didn't send any representatives, kind of walled themselves off. '74 in Greece, you had a military government in Greece. And some Greek Cypriots decided that they got with the Greek military in Greece, and they said, listen, if we have a revolution, will you come in and support us, and we can just, Cyprus just become part of Greece. Well, as soon as this started, Turkey realized what was going on, and Turkey invaded the island. Turkey has a superior military to Greece. There was some fighting. You had lots and lots of Greeks fleeing the Turkish area, lots of Turks fleeing the Greek area. The UN quickly stepped in and a ceasefire was arranged. Well, Turkey decided, or the Turkish Cypriots decided, hey, we're going to have our own country. So they declared their independence from the rest of Cyprus and set up their own country. Well, nobody else in the world recognized it except, as you would guess, Turkey. Turkey says, yep, we recognize that government. So you basically now have the island divided into two parts and has been for a long time. The Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is what the Turkish half of the island calls themselves. And the Republic of Cyprus is what the Greek half of the island call themselves. 4%, fully 4% of the island is simply a buffer zone between the two. And UN troops have been there monitoring the situation for decades. The remaining 1%, as I mentioned, is a British naval base. The country is high income. They're doing just fine for themselves. And as we saw in the little Al Jazeera clip, there appears to be offshore natural gas. Tourism is also a big deal in Cyprus. You get lots of tourists going there. As I say, it's sunny, you got beautiful beaches, why not? So. Okay, so that's Turkey and Cyprus. We will look at Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, 3 countries you've probably never heard of, on our next lecture. In the meantime, keep studying, learn those countries, and see you around campus.